Hello, students. Welcome to the vocabulary for design thinking. Design thinking is a system, an approach that includes psychology and practical business strategy to make new things, such as video games, animations, and products. So here is your vocabulary for design thinking. Empathy or empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. We'll get into each of these right now. Isn't that cute? Oh my goodness. So, what happened? You just felt empathy for one or more or all of these cute little animals. And empathy is the very beginning of design thinking. You would design something different for each of these characters, I think. What does the mouse need? What does the kitty want? What does the puppy care about? And what about that bunny? So when we looked at the baby animals, we probably felt a tug of emotional empathy. Emotional empathy is involuntary, and that's usually what your player is into when they're playing a game or when the audience member is looking at an animation. The other kind of empathy is cognitive empathy, and that is voluntary. It is the professional empathy of the designer. So once you understand the needs of your users and you feel empathy for their needs, the design wheels start to churn and actions and results come out. But first, you need to define what is the problem. So you make a clear definition, which is also called the design challenge. You synthesize what you empathized with, and you come out with specific actionable problems. A good way to think about your problem statement is that it should be human-centered, it should give you a certain amount of freedom, but still be manageable. So this is a good place to really hone your decision-making skills in order to get a clear goal. So now you have a challenge. The next step is to ideate. That's the stage when ideas are formulated, evaluated, and selected as design directions. The next step is to start to prototype. Now, prototypes come in all kinds of forms, but one of the early forms and the most reliable form is to sketch out your ideas. That is a communication skill that we're going to work on in this class. Once you have created some prototypes, you put them back in front of the target audience. So it's time to test your ideas, test your designs, test your design thinking. Listen to what your target audience says. You may have to go back into your design process and iterate. That means go back and go through some of the same steps again, evolving your design. And in our learning community here in this class, we're going to use design thinking to think about the design of the course materials, the course progress, the course collaboration. We're going to use design thinking to evolve our design for design foundations. We're going to work together to figure it out. Here's a task. One of our objectives is visual storytelling. How many visual stories about design thinking are there? There's about a zillion. I looked at a lot of them to make this slideshow. What can we see in visual stories that words alone do not address? Design thinking can be practiced as a mindful approach. Empathizing with the people you're designing for, asking questions and imagining before defining and designing. Divine mindfulness flows from your personal powers as a curious and creative professional. Design thinking is a system to create a new thing for a specific audience. Today, and in this whole semester, we are going to use the design thinking system to make this course into a playable, a gameful of fun curriculum. The design thinking vocabulary. Design thinking is empathy, define, ideate, prototype, test, and if needed, iterate. It includes emotional empathy and cognitive empathy, creating a design problem, evolving into a design challenge, and using mindfulness all the way through. Meow.